with Arnold Dean. Hot talk, great guests. Weeknights at 6:15 from WTIC, Hartford.
BBC Radio, Canada's public broadcast.
Try Carter's Little Liver Pill. Good advice.
Good mornings only on KCMO Kansas City. It's 8 o'clock.
When you're tuned to CDS Radio.
This is the DX Central from the Static Podcast.
From Studio B of the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana.
And welcome to episode 4 of the DX Central from the Static Podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Van Horn, and we're here in Studio B of the North Shore Studios, and today we bring you our next installment from our DX Central Re-Live series. This is our audio rebroadcast of our Friday night live streams from DX Central Live. And you can join us live, by the way, on those Friday nights at 23:45 UTC, 18:45 Central Time. Come right then, or maybe 15, 20 minutes early because folks kind of gather in the chat pre-show. And you can do it on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@DXCentral or our website, dxcentrallive.com. For this episode, we have a couple of main topics we covered. Our main segment was on AI for DXers, utilizing AI resources like ChatGPT or Google Gemini to help us with identifying radio stations we're hearing either during openings or during a DX session. You can also use it for like translating foreign languages to kind of understand what you're hearing, things like that. So we touch on that. We actually do a live demonstration of our AI assistant from ChatGPT helping us to identify a station we were hearing. We also talk about WaveView DX, a great piece of software that you can utilize to take your IQ recordings you recorded using your SDR and like SDR Sharp or SDR Console or Perseus, Jaguar, things like that. All these different SDR programs out there. We can take those files, import them into WaveView DX, and it'll help you to sift through to see if there's anything really, really good there, like using the carrier sleuth to help you find offsets that are slightly off frequency. Or if you're looking for maybe a trans-Pacific, transatlantic, no matter which side of that pond you're on, you can look at both the 9 and 10 kilohertz splits in a broad view to see if there are any carriers that show up that warrant further review. So a great piece of software. We talk a bit about that in the show and how you might be able to use it, and maybe some folks who might not find a whole lot of benefit from it as well. We also looked at Bill Hepburn and his Tropo forecasts for the coming weekend and early part of the next week to see if there was any possibility of some Tropo hitting the FM bands for some folks, and or a few folks that it might just be popping up for. Of course, we have shout outs to get to. We've got our live DX where we were patrolling once again through the graveyard as we continue on with our graveyard challenge. So lots to get to in this episode. So without further delay, this is the next edition of DX Central Relive right here on the DX Central from the Static Podcast.
From the Gulf South
to your corner of the world,
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
From Studio A here in beautiful Mandeville, Louisiana, and our North Shore studios, it is DX Central Live, Season 6, Episode number 2. Welcome, my friends. So happy to have you here with us. And, oh, man, you guys in the chat are cracking me up. The Como word canceller. Love it. So glad to be back with you again here this week. Thank you for those of you who were able to join last week for our season premiere. And we are now in the Graveyard Challenge for our first challenge of the season. And the logs are pouring in. You guys are doing an amazing job already at getting through the graveyard. Had a chance to play a little bit with it this week. Not a whole lot, not as much time as I wanted to. That's always how it goes, though. Tonight's show, we got some cool stuff on tap for you. We're going to do something we've never done before. Some of you may know that I do writing for the Spectrum Monitor magazine, the spectrummonitor.com. About every 3 months, you'll see an AM or FM DX column in there for me. And my most recent column was in September. And in that edition, I did a big special on AI and using AI in DX. Clearly, if you've been listening for the past 35 minutes or so, you know, I use AI, and it's no secret. Use the tools that are available to you, especially when you're a one-person creator who doesn't have a budget and is just doing this on his own for fun, yeah, I'm going to use the tools that are available. But beyond, making catchy little DX songs, AI can also be useful for DX in helping you get stuff in the logbook. So we're going to talk about that tonight as our main segment tonight. And we're going to do a demonstration of one of the things that I talk about in that article, which is using a AI assistant like ChatGPT or Google AI or, Microsoft's or whatever to help you narrow down the station that you might be hearing during an opening. This is something that I tested out extensively this summer. And let me tell you what, it did the trick. It did the trick. And I was doing comparisons. So it was not just me just like asking AI what station I was hearing and then taking whatever it said and running with it. I was doing some experimentation. I was doing some tests, some A/B tests. I was giving it stuff where I knew the answer to the question I was looking for. And it was able to give me the answer. It was able to narrow things down. So we're going to talk about how to do that tonight. We're going to be using ChatGPT as our model here that we're going to be running with, but you can apply the same approach to other ones. I tried it with Google, is it Gemini, Google AI, and it worked really, really well. So we'll talk about that tonight. We're also going to be talking about a piece of software that I'm just starting to get my hands around here called WaveView DX. There's quite a few of you. Notorious BOG over here in the chat. Jeff Emmel, he's been running with it for a while. Rick Knuth and some other folks that are friends of the channel have been running with this WaveView DX for quite a while now. I think last year, it's been around, I think, since 2021, I want to say. But last year is when it kind of really started gaining steam. And so we're going to talk about what it is and what it's not, because I think that's important to also kind of know as well, and how it can be helpful for you if you're wanting to get some more logs in your logbook off of your IQ recordings, your recordings that you set up either while you're DXing or scheduled recordings that happen like overnight, things like that. So we're going to take a look at WaveView DX. I'm just going to give you a really very broad brush because, again, I just downloaded it for the first time last night. So I haven't really had a chance to dive into all the features. So this is not going to be an intensive how to get to know everything about it kind of thing. This is going to be based off of what I've learned so far and some of the assumptions that I'm making about the software based on what I've used of it so far. Those may change. Yep, those assumptions may change as we go along, but this will get us started. Of course, we got to get to your shout outs. We got live DX to do. We're going to be sitting on the graveyard frequencies because we are in the midst of our graveyard challenge. We're also going to be taking a look at the Tropo forecast for the FM side of the house because there could be some interesting Tropo over the next several days. We have a cold front kind of blowing through the southeast over here, and there might be some prefrontal, postfrontal Tropo that might exist maybe Monday to Tuesday in some areas. So we're going to look at that forecast and see what it might mean for you, and see what DX might be there. If you're looking to do some FM DX, you may have a shot. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's go ahead and get to some DX though. It's see right now, what time is it? We got about 5 minutes here until the top of the hour. So we're getting close to our first top of the hour Lord of the Night, but let's go ahead and do some DX. This first DX session is brought to you by the IRCA, International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org. That's where you'll find information about the club, membership, publications that they offer, and a whole bunch of other stuff. ircaonline.org. Do it. Just go get yourself a membership. It is super, super cost effective, and I mean, there's no reason not to, unless it's a monetary thing, which I understand. But you're going to get a lot of benefit out of it from being a part of the clubs, both the NRC and the IRCA. As usual, our tour around the shack here. We are starting off with our sister Kiwi here, the Shortwave Central Kiwi around the corner. This has got the big Latin American focused 25 by 72 foot elevated CAS antenna right now pointing at 150 degrees. So right at Central America, South America, right there on the line. We've also got our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, where we have this in SDR Sharp software, and we have this with our 20 by 70 foot CAS right now pointing at 125 degrees. We also, let me go over here to, we have our DX Central Kiwi here on the grounds at North Shore Studio. And this one has, right now, we're on our 263-degree Super Loop, which I need to change that over there to that. There we go. That's a 15 by 56 Super Loop. We're also running this same Super Loop right now on our Perseus and doing top of the hour recordings and things like that. So we'll be, speaking of, let me hit that. Boop. Hit that record button, and we'll be checking that as we go along here periodically as well. All right, so let's actually start there. Let's start on the west facing Super Loop. It's top of the hour time frame. Let's hit that big alert, boys and girls.
DX Central Live top of the hour alert.
All right, top of the hour means we are looking for IDs, and we are sitting right now on our 263-degree Super Loop, 15 by 56. Well, let's start on 1450 kilohertz here in the graveyard, and let's see what we get. We're going to back our threshold off a little bit, or we're going to raise the threshold here. Let's go to about, how about negative 40 has seemed to be a pretty good sweet spot. There's 57. We get about 50. We'll try there to start with. We'll turn that up as well. So we, wrong one. That's what I want to turn up. We're actually going to swap this over to the 125 CAS. There we go. Swap to the 125 CAS because we are recording on the Perseus on the 263, so we can always go back. We're looking southeast right now. Be sure to let us know what you're hearing. Top of the hour coming up here in just about 10, 15 seconds. So we're going to go mic off. Got a country station in there. There was a station that was identifying as hometown radio, but I couldn't pull the calls out. I'm hoping this is the station from Natchitoches. There's a 95.9 Kicks Country in Natchitoches that I need for my Louisiana stations. I'm down to below, I'm in the teens with how many I need left. This is one of them. And there was a station in Beaumont that was country that was blocking them. Not anymore. They're off the air. So we had a ID there for WROX in Clarksdale, Mississippi, which is a relog here, but needed for the challenge. I want to know who this country station is, though, before we go. See if it's Natchitoches. KSIG Crowley, Acadiana. That's Crowley is who that is. Okay, so we didn't get Natchitoches, unfortunately. I'll keep trying. We did get Crowley was there, KSIG, Freedom 95.1, and we had the WROX Clarksdale, Mississippi was the other station that was there. So there we go. All right. Nice little start to the evening here. Two new stations for the challenge, both relogs here for me in Mandeville, but new ones for the challenge. So we'll be able to submit those here in a bit. Let's do a quick break. And when we come back, we've got a lot to talk about. We got AI for DXers. We've got Waveview DX. We've got your shout outs to get to and a whole lot more. So no. Do not go nowhere, my friends. We have more DX Central Live coming right your way after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
Sunlight, lost in the static and the noise. No signals, no choice. When the DX can't be found, radio's off, hit the ground. No wires can keep me down. When the signals can't be found,
from the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
No stress, no.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Beautiful lakefront, Lake Pontchartrain, about a mile from the causeway. Lovely this time of the year. Absolutely lovely this time of the year. Even when it's a little more humid and sticky as it is this weekend, it's still lovely. Real quick, I see the question from you there, Hunter. So what you described, the two one-story houses separated by a ton of antennas, that's actually pretty close to what I used to have when I lived in Brasstown, North Carolina. We were at the old Grove Enterprises. For those of you who might remember Grove Enterprises, Monitoring Times, our house was Grove Enterprises, where they had their business, and it was the downstairs house where we kind of lived, and then there was a staircase that went outside and up to another house that was kind of up on a hill, and that house was a 2-story house actually, and the downstairs was just one. The upstairs was 2 stories. It looked like a cabin, like a little log cabin. It wasn't a log cabin, but it kind of had that look to it, which I think was what they were trying to go for when they built it. And the downstairs had offices, and it was carpeted. It had offices, and then upstairs was one big room that was the size of the entire house, and it had workbenches around. That was my dad's shack. We also did stuff up there as well. I did a lot of AMDX up there and FM. Here, North Shore Studios, where I am here, we have one house, and the main studio here, Studio A that I'm in, it's a little, basically like a little. Originally, I thought this was, when I first looked at the house, I thought it was an old laundry room, and it's not. It was an office, but it is 6 foot wide by 7 foot long, so it's kind of a tiny little room. And there are cabinets up on the left-hand side. So if you're watching, those of you on the podcast can't see, but when you're looking here, I'm looking at the camera, and it's to my left, up above me. And so that's when you first walk into the room, the door, when you first walk in, the cabinets are on your left. There's a big U-shaped desk here. It's actually 3 desks that are kind of arranged to make a U. And there's lights underneath those desks, multicolored lights that I can make blue or red or white or whatever I want it to be. There's lights underneath the cabinets as well. So here on camera, we have a nice blue glow right now. This is I call it DX mode. When we go to the top of the hour alert, we go red, and everything is red in here. We've got acoustic foam on one of the walls. We've got my computer here to my right, my custom-built PC, which is my main DX computer, and also our video production one here in the studio, in the shack. We've got some different stuff over here on the left. So we got 4 monitors right in front of me. It's kind of the center of the hub here. So, yeah, quite a bit. We have a couple of shelves in the back over here in the corner. On each side of right next to the door, they have like SDRs and desktop radios and stuff like that. So that's North Shore Studio A. So it's not carpet, it's hardwood. It's hardwood floors here, so it's nice and kind of cool this time of the year. And it actually helps a little bit because in the wintertime it gets kind of hot in this room because the AC flow from the vent's not super great. All right, let's talk about AI. So some of you may know I'm a writer for the Spectrum Monitor mentioned earlier. And in September, I did a column on AM and FM DX and using AI for DX. And I talked about a couple of different things that you can do. One of those is we talked about using AI to help you identify stations. So you can feed it clues and it'll help you identify which station you're hearing. I also talked in the article about using it to help you translate. So if you have a transcript that you can get from like a audio clip or a video clip, you can plug that translation into the AI and it'll translate it for you into English or whatever your language of preference is. And then also it's just kind of a resource for answering some questions as well. So the main one we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about using AI to help you identify a station, because I think that's the most kind of tangible thing that most people would want to kind of start with to use AI with for DX, and then you can kind of blossom it from there and kind of expand from there as you wish. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little experiment. So I did this same experiment earlier this summer, and it worked really, really, really well. So we're going to go here to our online list of receivers through the fmdx.org, the FMDX web server. We're going to take a look at this, and we're going to actually pick a random station, and we're going to find one that gives us RDS so we can know what the station is that we're listening to. And we're going to feed our AI assistant some clues about what we're hearing, like song titles. We're not going to tell it anything. I don't want to tell anything super identifying because I want to see how it does, being able to identify and see how many clues it takes before I can get a positive response back of what it thinks it is. And a confirmation of the station that I'm actually hearing. So let's, I like to go up here. Let's go to New Jersey. And I'm not going to tell it where I'm going here. I'm going to tell it it's an FMDX station from somewhere. Okay. I'll tell it the US. I'll tell it that. I'm not going to tell it New Jersey though, just yet. I just want to see how it does for this first part. So let's see. All right, so we got Sister Christian is the song that's playing right now. Okay. All right. We're on 101.5. And now, chat can't see any of this. Chat GPT, the AI, cannot see any of this, cannot hear any of the audio, but it's going to hear me talking, and it's going to respond back. So here we go. All right, Skip, ready to have a challenge here for you. You ready?
Absolutely, Lloyd. I'm all set. Hit me with the challenge and let's dive in.
All right. So I am on a FMDX online receiver somewhere in the United States, and the frequency is 101.5. And the format is kind of classic rock. The song is called Sister Christian.
Got it. That's a fun little ID puzzle. So what we'll do is basically play detective based on the frequency, the classic rock format, and that song. Sister Christian's a bit of a signature track for a lot of classic rock stations, so we'll narrow it down. And since you're on an all-night receiver somewhere in the US, we'll just piece it together and figure out which station you're likely hearing. Let's have some fun with it.
All right. So let me see if I can get some more clues here for you. 1 second. Yep, still the same song. So I'll give you the next song when it comes in, and we'll kind of try to narrow it down from there. But again, we are on a US online receiver.
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. Once we catch the next song, or maybe a station ID in between, we'll have another piece of the puzzle. And then we can pin down exactly which station is rocking out with Sister Christian right now. We'll just do it step by step.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and take off the voice mode there for a second. So we're going to let this song kind of flow through, and then we're going to come back in and give him the next clue, okay? So as an example of how I was using this summer is I would feed him something like hearing a station that's saying Magic 102, and they're playing Hall & Oates. And he would say, okay, well, there's like 4 different Magic 102s that could match the format, and he'd give me a couple different options. Or I might tell him, or tell the AI,
New Jersey time, it's 8:17. Hey, everybody, it's Big Joe Henry.
Now, I'm purposely not going to tell him slogan. I'm purposely not going to tell him location. I want to be vague here to really kind of push the boundaries of what this thing can do, to see how quickly it can take him to narrow down what station it is we're hearing.
Adopt adorable pets, enjoy local vendors, live music, and more. Plus, enter our cutest pet contest for your chance to win Pawsome prizes. See what some knucklehead did there? Pawsome prizes. Details at our events page at nj1015.com. Check it out, won't you? Of course you will. It's going to be fun. Well, a new study shows that
Yeah, this guy's talking about it. You can give it like ads, like an event ad like that. I've given it that before, and it's like, oh, that's this. I see that on this Chamber of Commerce website. They're doing this weenie roast thing or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It's so bad.
And so the point of this exercise I'm doing right now is to give it as minimum amount of information as possible. And again, seeing how long it takes for it to zero in on what station it is we're hearing. But in the real world, you might say, I've got a sporadic E opening right now up to the northeast from Louisiana, and I'm hearing stations from Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, whatever it might be. I'm on 101.5 and I'm hearing this. And it'll help narrow that down for you and give you a list of stations that it thinks you might be able to hear. So,
an accident in the truck lanes, and 78 westbound still jammed up for over 5 miles.
I'm going to give it a little bit of a clue here.
That is all because of a jackknife tractor trailer. Route 9 southbound jammed up in South Amboy at Route 35.
All right, Skip, another clue here for you. There's a traffic report here with talking about traffic accidents on the 78 and Route 9.
Oh, that's a really good clue. Mentions of Route 78 and Route 9 definitely help narrow it down geographically. Those ways are associated with areas like New Jersey, and that region's classic rock stations on 101.5 are a pretty strong bet. So we're probably zeroing in on something like New Jersey 101.5, which is known for that kind of content. Let's keep listening for that next song just to confirm.
Next song is playing now. It's U2 1.
Perfect. So with One by U2 coming up next, and all those little clues, that really does line up nicely with New Jersey 101.5. WKXW, which is a well-known classic hits and talk station on that frequency. They do traffic reports mentioning those highways, and definitely spin classic rock and hits like U2. So I'd say we've nailed it down.
That took hardly any time at all. Now, granted, I gave a pretty easy clue with the 78 and Route 9, but that shows you that it can actually use that information, go out and search the internet and find, okay, what are some areas that have Route 9 and 78 that might be, also in alignment with stations that are on this frequency that also play classic rock. So you see, he went right to New Jersey 101.5. Let's do another one here. Let's go. I'm going to take this one to our friend. Let's see. I haven't done this one yet. Go out west. This is a West Coast one here in San Rafael, California. I haven't actually used this web server yet. Let's see what they have available. I don't know if he has his audio on. Here, I'll use another one here. Let's go up to Seattle. And then, okay, we do have someone on. KHTP Tiger Mountain, Washington. Let's listen. See what they've got. And every time we with Chris, that fool rolling up a fat. But the Tango Ray straight at me. Oh, man. Let's do one another. Go to our friend Bob's one here in Edinburgh. This might be a good one.
.com and send a shout out to our mobile app.
I listen to your radio station all the time.
Listen to Jared Boomer Thursday mornings between 7 and 7:15 a.m. for when drawings and winning happen.
Thank you so much.
To everyone who believes in magic, let our team member Teppy tell you.
HVAC service and care. Writers Harry Warren and Al Dubin produced the romantic nostalgia song September.
Oh, this could be interesting.
1937.
Now, it might be a little easy to have a public radio station up in the non-commercial or the commercial portion of the band. That might be easy to kind of narrow down. So we won't do this one. But I did a foreign language one where it was a station down in Miami in Spanish, and I was giving it some songs. And I did another one at a station in Texas. It was in Texas, but it was a Spanish station doing English music. And it was able to narrow down on all of these. Let me find another frequent. Not going to be probably so easy.
A swirl, free soft drinks and candy, because it's holiday break.
That's KYKOGarage.com.
Hi, this is Mike Bodart with Hoosier Sporting Goods.
Now, obviously, if I was to give the AI tool some of these ads, these business names, it would narrow it down in hardly any time at all. As you saw, once it had some location information, it was a pretty quick process. But again, I want to be very vague here and just give it basically format information. It, in some cases, can search song playlists on station websites. I've seen it do that before, and I'm going to ask it about that here.
No, it's been a different team we've seen.
Yeah, I was all but lost in the moment. I was young and running wide open.
Okay, this is a K-Love station, so let's do this one. All right, Skip, have another one for you. This is another online receiver in the U.S., it's a different location, so it's not the New Jersey. This one is a station on 102.1. They are playing a song by Toby Mac called Love Broke Through.
Gotcha. Switching gears to a different online receiver and a different region. So now we're on 102.1 FM, and they're playing Toby Mac, which is more in the Christian contemporary or Christian pop genre. That already gives us a good hint that we're likely dealing with a Christian music station. So we'll just think about well-known 102.1 stations that fit that profile in the U.S., and we'll narrow it down from there. Let's piece it together and find your station.
And remind me, are you able to search station playlists of recently played songs to help identify stations?
Sure thing. So it looks like the station you're tuned into is probably WKVZ out of Dexter, Maine. They own contemporary Christian music and are part of the K-Love network. So that fits the playlist you're hearing. And there we go.
All right, it's not them. So we'll need to keep searching. I will give you one hint. This is not a strong radio station.
Got it. So we might be dealing with more of a smaller or maybe a local low-power translator station, which makes it a bit trickier, but that's all part of the fun. We'll just keep digging. With that hint in mind, I'll refine the search and we'll figure out which smaller station on 102.1 is playing that Toby Mac track.
And I don't know if you heard my question. Remind me, are you able to search station playlists to review recently played songs to help identify stations?
Oh, absolutely. I can do that. I can definitely look up recent station playlists to help identify what station you're tuned into. Let me run a quick search on that, and we'll pin it down more precisely.
Perfect. I will give you another hint. You are very, very close format-wise. I mean, you are on the format, Contemporary Christian, but you had something you said there that was very, very close to the station that we're receiving. So you're in the ballpark.
Okay, that's a great hint. So we're definitely on the right track with the Contemporary Christian format. And I'm guessing maybe it's a station that's part of a similar network or has a name close to what I mentioned. Let me just refine that search a bit more and we'll pinpoint exactly which station it is. We're almost there.
And Jacob, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Caleb is going to be a tough one. I might have to give it something else to kind of grab it a hold of. Hey, Justin, what's up, man? We're going to have to give it something else to kind of grab a hold of probably here, other than Caleb. But you heard it. It can search those station playlists. So it can kind of narrow that down based off of recently played songs. So we're going to let this song play through. We'll see if we have anything localized that we can give it that might help.
Always something encouraging. K-Love.
I'll tell it that. I'll tell it to K-Love. Okay, I have to be fair for you, Skip, on this one. This is a station that is part of the K-Love network.
That ties it all together. If it's part of the K-Love network and on 102.1, then we definitely zeroed in. There are a handful of K-Love affiliates on that frequency around the country, but given your hints and that we were already in the right format zone, we got it. So you're definitely listening to one of the K-Love stations on 102.1. We've cracked the case.
All right, let's try to figure out which specific station it is and the location. Based on the clues that I've given you, do you have any candidates?
So it looks like you're probably tuned into a K-Love station on 102.1 FM that's playing Toby Mac right now. Based on the clues, that's almost certainly one of the K-Love affiliates on that frequency. So you've got your station of a K-Love 102.1 FM location. There we go.
Okay, so based off the fact that it is a lower powered FM translator or lower powered FM station, what candidates would you be able to suggest for a specific radio station on this frequency?
Well, it turns out K-Love does have a few low-power FM translators on 102.1 around the country. One example is indeed in Dexter, Maine, like we mentioned earlier. So that's one candidate. And there are a few other similar small translators in other regions. But basically, you're right in that zone of a lower-powered K-Love affiliate on that frequency.
All right, so you can see it's some of those it's going to struggle with because like a national network, until you can feed it a couple of different clues, that's where it really starts to kind of narrow it down. Now, the last one you saw, once I gave it something location specific, it was almost immediate. It was right on top of it. So anything that you have like local advertisements are going to help, just like with us. But the difference being is that now I don't have to go search. Let me give you a great example. There was a station in one of my eSkip openings, and they were doing, I want to say it was an event that was located in, I think, Madison. And originally I was thinking Wisconsin, but it turned out it wasn't Wisconsin. It was another, I think it might have been Minnesota or somewhere like that, that had another city called Madison. And based off some of the clues I was able to give it, it actually pointed me in the right direction. It was like, actually, this is the one that I think it is. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's it. And then they ended up IDing shortly after that. And it confirmed that the AI had it right. So the more, just like with anything with DX, the more specific clues you can have, the better equipped it's going to be to help you out. You don't expect miracles. There are going to be times where it kind of blows you away with a little bit. You're like, wow, it already kind of narrowed that down pretty quickly. I had plenty of those experiences this summer when I was testing this out. But if you handed enough clues and you say, okay, I'm on this frequency, I'm hearing a station, like especially if you're able to say, I have an eSkip opening that's pointing to the north from here where I am in Omaha, Nebraska, right? It's going up to the north. It's a U.S.-based station, I believe, and it is they're playing these songs. Here's the format, and they're talking about this and this and this and this as far as local events or this local business name or whatever. Man, it's going to be able to get to that very, very fast. You could also get there, but it's going to take more searching and cross-referencing and checking against station lists and things like that to get there. Obviously, we can do this on AM as well, and let's test that out really quick. I'm going to go over here to my shortwave Central Kiwi, And we're going to go to a station that I know. Let's see, 820. Let's just do 820.
But by the end of today's meeting, no statement on a possible deal. George Santos is a free man. The disgraced former congressman representing parts of New York and his sentence commuted by President Trump today.
750.
If you've been injured in an auto accident.
I want to find something where I can give him like a specific network. Yeah. KLO stations. I mean, it's hard for us. And we know what we're looking for, right? It can be hard for us, especially when I'm not giving it any other clues on location and stuff like that, which in the real world, when we're doing it in a live DX scenario, we would be feeding those kinds of clues based off of what we're hearing, right? I would be giving it, I'm hearing this location, I'm hearing this city name, I'm hearing these roads, these business names, I have an opening this in this general direction, and it'll help you narrow it down. I've got tons of those it did for me this year. So try it out in your own DX. I'll get back to over here. We'll try it on the AM side here in a bit. But try it out in your own DX. See what you might be able to come up with and helping you narrow it down. Is it a replacement for what we normally do in our research? No, it's an aid. It's a tool that I use to help me with my DX, to help give me a list, at least a list of candidates that could be what I'm receiving. And from that, I can help myself narrow it down and either confirm what I'm thinking I'm hearing or give me a different look that maybe I wasn't thinking of otherwise. So it can be a really, really great help. I also mentioned in the article some ways that you can use AI to help you with translation. I'll let you read the article for that information. But basically, you would have a two-prong approach. You're going to there's a website that I mentioned in the article that you can use to upload audio clips to this website if they're in like Spanish or French or whatever, and it will give you a transcription of the audio. Shorter clips are better. I tried to do like an 8-minute clip and it was kind of wonky on that a little bit, but it'll try to transcribe what it hears and you tell it what language it's in and so forth, and it'll transcribe it out for you. You copy and paste that transcription into your AI assistant and say, please translate this for me into English, and it'll give you the translation. It's super, super cool. So I talk about that in the article in the Spectrum Monitor. So definitely check that out if you want more information on which resources we used for that. All right, let's do some shout outs, my friends. It's time.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every signal, big or small, from AM to FM, from sea to sea. We celebrate the ones who slag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
Daniel, yeah, that was ChatGPT, OpenAI, ChatGPT. And I mean, I've been working with it a lot over the past year or so on DX topics and training it on DX. And over time, the more you kind of give it, the better responses you're going to get back. It's going to be more in tune with you and what you're kind of looking for. So definitely, like I said, give it a shot and try it out. And I would start off, before you start really diving into having the AI help you with unknowns, train it with what you know. And so give it stuff that you know is for sure this, so like stuff in your local market. You could do that. And in other stations that you know for sure, like if you're doing AM or FM, like other stuff, maybe from recordings or whatever, where you know 100% what the station was that you've heard, train it on that kind of stuff. And then kind of go from there. And then eventually you can get it to where it's really, really good at helping you narrow down what station it is that you're hearing. All right. Shout out number 1 goes to Art Jackson in Texas. Art says 72 grid squares from southwest of Fort Worth. All see the pants. Actually, no recording. And exactly... or mostly RTL SDRs. My glasses are still messing with me here. I'm still on the old pair. Mostly RTL SDRs and XH dated D808. So no recordings, all live DX. 72 FM grid squares from southwest of Fort Worth. New Tropo distance record of 603 miles. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 91.5 UAL. 320 watt Breckenridge, Colorado, KBKV 88.7. Great season on 6 meters as well. 163 grids, 40 watts, and a 7-foot high Squallow. So we got, let's see, several new logs here. So we're going to saw some logs for you there, Art. All right. Justin says he's watching this outside and just saw a meteor. Wasn't 3-Eye Atlas, was it? No, if it was that, we would know. There would be some really bad things happening if that big monster was hitting us. Thankfully, it's not. Boy, go down that rabbit hole. And today I went down the rabbit hole of not just 3-Eye Atlas, but also the R2 Swan. They're both coming in at kind of opposite directions, and some of the stuff with them, they're comets. I want to be very clear, they're comets, but some of the things and the stuff that they're finding with these, it doesn't make any sense. Like they're seeing these bursts of speed, call it step modulation, that can happen with the process. I'm going way off track here. Can happen with the process of comets. It's called outgassing, when things kind of just like propel out of the comet. But the speed burst they're seeing, the amount of energy you would need to cause that, they think they're like, we don't think it's possible that a comet can actually do these kinds of bursts. There's no natural process we know of that would cause these kinds of bursts. So we're not saying it's not natural, but if it is natural, it's something we've never seen before. That's crazy. So go down that rabbit hole, have some fun. David Hardin, Georgia. I've tried all summer ID stations on 1380. I first logged WWMI in St. Petersburg, Florida. He's following the one station on every frequency, at least one station on every frequency approach, right? Or maybe a couple of different stations on every frequency, right? That's the approach that David's kind of doing here, making sure that he's being thorough and spreading all of his attention across all of the bands and looking for holes. So 1380 now, WWMI in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's the dominant station where I live. I'm only 100 miles from Atlanta, but WAOK is not audible at night. In the background, I heard a Spanish music station. It was rarely heard above WWMI, and when I heard it, I couldn't identify it. I inherited my wife's old computer and hooked up with my RSPDX2 to it and SDR Uno. It worked like a champ. Now my main computer was free to search the internet. I tuned to 1380. I have tried what direction finding I could to isolate the Spanish station. Tried several different stations, but on a hunch, I looked up WOLA in Barranquita, Puerto Rico. Even with the delay, I finally got a positive identification. That's a new country for them, as well as a new log. Persistence pays logged about 13 other medium wave stations and about 10 FMs, but WOLA was the best one for me. My friend, congratulations, man. That is awesome. Puerto Rico from Georgia. Stamp that passport here for you, my friend, because that is awesome. A new country. Puerto Rico is one of those. When I first heard it, I was in Charleston. I'd wanted Puerto Rico for years and years and years, and I never had heard them. And then when I was in Charleston one day, I was down at the beach one evening down on Sullivan's Island there in Charleston, South Carolina. Had my car radio tuned. I think it was 6:30, and there they were. There was Puerto Rico, and man, I was so excited. So I feel that exhilaration that you have in there, man. Good job and congratulations. Aiden in Michigan, a few days ago on October 15th, logged 3 new states: Oklahoma, Kansas, and Mississippi. More specifically, 1520 KOKC in Oklahoma City, 1660 KWOD in Kansas City, and 940 WCPC in Houston. Heard the legal ID for WCPC. Heard the legal ID for WCPC. The Bet MGM network leads me to believe I heard KWOD, and I recorded the legal ID from KOKC. Now, the only states east of Mississippi I haven't heard is pretty much every state up in New England except for Massachusetts and Connecticut. I have been doing this for only a year with just a Quotson DX286 as a receiver. And has a clip here for us as well. So let's take a gander at this clip and see what he has here.
Stepped in. Mark walked away saying less than 1,500. Call Coach 1 now. A 2-minute call can save you up to 93% on your back taxes. Get your fresh start today. That's 800-242-3186. Sponsored by Coach 1 Financial Group. KOKC, Oklahoma
Nicely done, man. We're going to get you some fireworks here. Your new state. Plural. New states. Well done, Aiden. All right. Next up on the list, we have our friend John Johnson out in Arizona. Recent new loggings include 980 KDSJ in Deadwood, South Dakota, 1270 KNWC in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And yes, I'm on 200% zoom on my spreadsheet right now. 1490 KCID Caldwell, Idaho, 1620 XECSCGU in Mexico. This is my 117th Mexican station log. I'm now up to 918 total for Mesa, Arizona. What's up with the stations in Mexico and all of the call letters? Like all the letters in the call sign. What are they doing? What's going on with that? XECSCGU. They couldn't have run out of call signs. They had a bunch of stations that left to go to FM. They couldn't have run out, right? Anywho, sorry to take over there, John. Well done, my friend. We're going to give you this one from the Latin American station. And some logs there for you, my friend. And we've got more shout outs to get to. We'll get to those here in the next hour, but let's see. And mark that one is done. So we've got next up, we've got Stuart, we've got David, we've got Charles, and Mexico Mike J on the docket here for us, coming up with their shout outs. You can still get yours in. Got plenty of time. Shout outs at the shout out submission form. That is dxchallenges.com/shoutout. All right. Our friend Mexico Mike J, very, very knowledgeable on all things Mexico, AM and FM radio, as you might imagine. For the new XE call signs, the third and fourth call letters refer to the type of station, commercial, social, public. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. See, you learn something. You learn something new every day. Right here in the chat on DX Central Live. Learned that just now. That's how that works. Let's see, what time is it? We are at 44 after. This next hour, we're going to talk about WaveView DX. We're going to actually open it up and let you take a look at it and see what it looks like. And I'm going to give you my far too early thoughts on this one. I know I shouldn't be giving you my thoughts. I played with it for about 30 minutes last night. But I'm going to give you my initial impression of WaveView DX and where I see it being useful and where I don't see it being useful. So we'll talk about that. We've also got to get to some FM propagation forecasting. We're going to be looking at the Tropo forecast here for this weekend into next week because it looks interessante. It looks interesting. I'm too tired to try to speak in another language. Let's go ahead and do some more live DX though, because I think that sounds like a plan. Let's do this live DX session brought to you by National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org. Go there now. Get information about the membership, about their publications, including the NRC AM radio log and the DX News member bulletin. And by the way, we talked about the IRCA a few moments ago, our last DX session. It was the IRCA DX Monitor member bulletin that finally made me go, okay, fine, I'll download WaveView DX, because there was a nice write-up in the DX Monitor, most recent edition, about WaveView DX from a DXer in Japan, talking about how they have been using it. I had read our friend Bjarn up in Scandinavia had a write-up on it last year that kind of wet my whistle and got me interested. And finally I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it out. And that's why that's what we did. Tried it out last night. So we shall see. We are sitting on our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery right now, and that's looking at 125 degrees. But I want to take a quick look back at our last top of the hour we just did on our Perseus. Because I want to see what we might have had here, top of the hour on the other graveyard frequencies. So let's go up to 1240 now. Okay, and we're going to rewind this back to our most recent top of the hour. How about that? So we're going to have to go an upper sideband here on this frequency because 1230 here locally is a local station, a strong local station on 1230 graveyard. So we're going to have to look at 1240 from upper sideband. And let's see what IDs might have come in during that time. This is live right now. And for those who might not be familiar, the software we're using, oops, I haven't moved this down yet, have I? Let me do that. The software we're using right now is the Jaguar software, which is specifically for the Perseus SDR. Is that who that 14? I'm going back and reading through the chat right now. Is that WYKG? Is that the station that's broadcasting on 1431 right now? I know a couple of you guys have been hearing them. Let me just pause for a second. Because I've been hearing the station YKG Covington, Georgia. Aha! Mystery freaking solved. Yep, 1429.983. Well, there we go. That's going to be my next new one. I didn't know that was who that was. So, fantastic. Well done, guys. Thank you for the... See, another... Learned about it on the chat on DX Central Live. That one just got me a new one in the logbook. There you go. Let's take a listen here. Yeah, you hear the hit? Hear that hit? That's them. All right, let's go back to 1450 here. We're going to come off that recording. Let's look live. Let's go back live here. We're on the West Super Loop, looking live west of us here in Louisiana. And let's go to 1490. Keep changing my mind on this one. Yeah, Justin, it's actually not that bad. Once you kind of learn the basics of what you're doing, it's actually not that bad. Now, I don't do a lot of the advanced stuff that's available here, but I do use it for, call it domestic and Latin American DX. We've got some high school football going on here. WYKG, Barry. To be YKG in Covington, Georgia. We're going to move this up to the Kiwi now. So let's go up here to the DX Central Kiwi. Same antenna. We're looking west. And let's see what's on 1490 here. If we can figure out who this is. They're a 1430 station, Barry, but they're right now they're offsets at 1429.983. Someone needs to call the CE, the chief engineer, get him out there to do some work. Slightly off. We've got 2 high school football games now. Sean Kutsko out here crushing it right now on this challenge. Look at those logs by DXer. 43 for Sean. 39, Greg Caniglio. Neil in Ontario, 37. Mexico, Mike J with 25 down there. That's a pretty big feat down in Mexico. And also John there at 25. So Charles at 15. Bustos at 13. Dennis at 12. David Peets at 10. David Flom at 5. Brian Lamb at 5. And yours truly, Dos. We've heard more. I just haven't put them in yet. Did anybody get an answer on where Carl's been? Carl DeWitt? I haven't seen him in a while. He's doing all right.
trying something out here, guys. Hold on 1 second. Don't mind my little sounds.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert. That would make sense. Not yet, Barry. Working on it. I'm working up the packages and the perks and stuff. Let's go back and listen to who that was. Ah, I can do that. All right, that just came through, so let's see.
KPLT again, Paris. Who that was? That's who we got. We got them last week. Now they're still here again this week. KPLT, Paris, Texas. That's the station that I did there at the top of the hour. Then went to Network News. That's them. That was them again. 96.3, The Legend, KPLT. That was them again. All right. You're probably wondering what the sounds were about. I was trying something out there. So I was listening to the podcast from episode 1 of our live stream, our season premiere of episode of this season of DX Central Live. I was listening to that on the podcast. I was doing a walk this week, and I noticed, I was like, man, I need to just mute the mic during this top of the hour time frame and not call out like, oh, there's that station right there, and call in, because there's other stuff that might be IDing. So during the top of the hour time frame, I'm going to be mic muted moving forward. And when a station IDs, you're going to hear that sound. And then we're going to go back in and we're going to figure out after the fact, either figure out who it was or announce who it was. So one more time, that sound is. So when you hear that, that is me letting you know a station just identified during our live DX. One more time. I just like the sound. There you go. All right, Neil. Take care, my friend Kaz. Welcome. Glad to have you here, and get some good rest for that early morning sunrise search. All right. Let's do a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hit Waveview DX and see what's all the hubbub about.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central. Central North Shore Studios. This is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It is DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. We bring you live DX, tips, tricks, conversations, shout-outs, challenges, and more every Friday night at 2345 UTC, 1845 Central Time, right here on YouTube. And we also have our website, dxcentrallive.com, which I'm in the process of completely redesigning. It's in the process of a complete overhaul. It's the current one on the list. The next one on the list for an overhaul is our main website, dxcentralonline.com. That's going to take a while. There's a lot of stuff on that website we need to add to and remove and do some other stuff. So we're going to completely redo that website as well. Probably that'll be the next big project we have to work on. So all right, so let's talk about Waveview DX. So a little bit of background. So this is a program that first came to my attention last fall, and I saw some folks using it in the Slack channel and various other social media places, and was kind of curious. I didn't know exactly the full feature list, right? I knew that you could play back IQ files. I knew that if you had dual channel recordings, you could do phasing natively in the program. So like if you had two independent channels recorded, like I'm recording the entire band on this input on my SDR, like an RSP Duo, recording this, and I'm recording this, and you have to have those I think you have, in order to do that though, you have to do some kind of like wonky like way to actually record it somewhere first. You can't record it in WaveView DX. You have to record it elsewhere and then pull it in. But there are folks that do that. I am not there, and plus my RSP Duo that I have right now is back to an FM. So it's not here in the shack with me. So this is the website, and I'll pop this website here into the chat for you guys. And for my WaveView DX folks that are much more experienced and knowledgeable than I about this particular program, because again, I'm about 30 minutes into it. If I say anything that's incorrect, please correct me in the chat. You know, I'm liable to. This is the download page for WaveView DX. I think there was this is the main page. That was the download page. This is the main page that has some of the information about it. So what it basically is, it is an SDR program just for recordings. Okay. So it's not something you're going to live DX with. It's not pulling like an XDO in or, an API or whatever from your Aerospy, your Perseus or whatever to do live DX. So you're not going to be live DXing in this particular program. Okay. At least as it sits right now. It does allow you to pull in recordings from your various software programs. And it has a list on their website, I think here, supported file formats. The IQ data recordings of the below SDR softwares are known to work with WaveView DX. So you can use recordings from ELAD's FDM SW2 program, generic IQ data files without a file header, GQRX, HDSDR, Jaguar, LinRad Raw, single and dual channel recordings, Perseus SDR, Perseus P22, which is I think that's the new one, right? SDR Sharp, SDR++, SDR Console, SDR Uno, SDR Connect, SpectraView, WinRadio RXW, and WinRad. Those are the programs that you can record in. So you would have your normal program like SDR Console or SDR Sharp or whatever, Jaguar, that you record in. And then you can take those files that you want to review, import them into WaveView DX, and review the files there. So why would I want to do that? Why would I want to review my files not in the program that I recorded them in? So that's a good question. So there are some functionality here that is in WaveView DX that you don't really have in some of the other programs. Now, if you are a DXer who is used to the Jaguar interface and the Jaguar feature set, like the carriers and the offsets and things like that, you are probably going to be used to what you're seeing here to an extent. The interface is a little bit different and how you kind of navigate it, but the premise is pretty much, it's very close as far as like looking at these unique offsets and looking at those. And then also the other big thing that I see here is like this view. And if you're on the podcast, you can't see, but there's a view here that will allow me to look at all of the frequencies over the period of time of the recording or recordings, because you can stitch together multiple recordings. So over the span of the recordings that I import, it will give you a view and show you where there are carriers. So this is something, if you're using Jaguar and you use the YAS log, there's something like here in the US, we use this for looking at 9 kilohertz splits to see, do I have any transoceanic, transatlantic, transpacific carriers that have popped up on these 9 kilohertz splits frequencies that I can try to glean some audio from, right? Is it even worth my time without having to go back and listen to all these frequencies? Can I just visually just see, was there even anything there? Well, WaveView DX has that kind of functionality here. And that's one of the kind of the primary usefulness pieces of this particular program for a lot of folks is this, and then the individual offsets that you would actually kind of zoom in and do more like what we do in Jaguar, where you're looking at the individual carrier offset. So if you're on 780, but you have someone broadcasting on 780.03 or .12, you would be able to see that visually, right? Again, you can do these things in Jaguar, but that is only if you have a Perseus and if you've paid for the Jaguar software. Waveview DX is free, and you heard the list of all the different software programs you can incorporate and import your files in from. So it's not just limited to Perseus. So who I see this being the most valuable for, just of my first impression, would be the person who does not have a Perseus or has one and doesn't want to pay for Jaguar, the $50 or whatever it is for Jaguar. But you want to be able to use that offset and that kind of YAS log kind of thing where you see, are there any carriers on like the 9 kilohertz splits and things like that? And or be able to view the band. You can also do on the 10 kilohertz splits as well. But, either way, you get to see where the carriers are. It's less helpful for like USDXers looking at the 10 kilohertz split because at night it's just, they're all there. And it looks kind of like, well, not that, that's more forest, but it's all of them. All the frequencies are just all there because there's a lot of signals there, right? So that's who I see this as being, is the Perseus user who doesn't want to pay for Jaguar, or the non-Perseus user, AirSpy, ELAD, RSPDX, or any of the SDR plays, things like that. So you've got an SDR, you're recording it somewhere, and now you want to review your recordings. And that's where I see the most benefit for. Like I said, there is the capability, if you have the ability to record independent dual channels, like from like an RSP duo standpoint or something like that. So you have two different files, one from antenna 1 and one from antenna 2. You can pull those two into this and you can do phasing between them. That is another benefit, but that's a layer of complexity. I don't have the ability to test that right now, so I can't speak for that. Notorious BOG, I know Jeff is big on that. Rick Knuth is big on that. Those guys get a lot of success and a lot of DX out of using that very thing, the phasing. And so they can tell you really well what they do for it and how that works for them. So they see a lot of benefit there. So if you do have the ability to have independent channel recordings, that might be a use case for you here for Waveview DX. Otherwise, this is going to get you, if you're just doing the one channel, this is going to get you Jaguar-like functionality without having to have a Perseus or Jaguar. Okay. So do I get that right? The folks who in the chat who are Waveview DX users? Hope I did. So let me show you here. I'm going to actually pull up Waveview DX here on the screen, and we're going to give you a little run through of what I've figured out so far. Okay. So here is the actual program. I downloaded and installed it. Another thing you're going to find here is that you can set it up so that you can actually pull in medium wave list information into the program. So you can actually see the station list, just like we do in Jaguar. It's a similar station list like we have in Jaguar for our Perseus users. You'll see a similar version of that station list here in Waveview DX. So I'm going to go ahead and import some files here. I've got a string that I have from October 13th. I did like a 2-hour continuous recording. And so I'm going to go find that. I'm just going to select all my files here that I want to import in. And I look on advanced. Yep, low. This actually the name date here's gonna be. This is some Jaguar. Okay, I'm gonna import all of my files in. Oh, Waveview crashed. Waveview DX crashed. It didn't do it the other day. It was able to handle this no problem the other day. Try this again. this doesn't work, I'll do just a smaller group. Okay, there we go. I want to see the 9 and 10 kilohertz splits. So this is the analysis row right here. So this is going to take these files that I'm putting in, and it's going to analyze. It's going to be looking for where are their carriers. And you can either choose to do just the 10 or the 9 or the 9 and the 10. I want both because I could be looking for both here. Especially I'm on my western facing super loop, so maybe I might have some Trans-Pacific sitting there. You set your location. You can also import FM into this as well. And I did this last night. I imported an FM file. It was a sporadic e-opening file from August 13th. It was an hour-long file, full band, the entire FM band. And I imported it in. Now it only has a 100 kilohertz step spacing option for FM right now. There's no 200 kilohertz, which is what we use here in the US. I'll say this. It was a full band file, so it's pretty packed. But tuning on that was a little bit difficult. There is a manual tuning option you can do, but probably the easiest way to do the tuning on this program is by clicking. And on the FM file, it was, because we're on this 100 kilohertz spacing, it was a little packed in. So I kept, whenever I would click on a trace, I was going to the 100 kilohertz spaced spot between it. So if I was trying to go to 102.7, I was going to like 102.8 or 102.6 instead. So I had to actually kind of click off of where I thought it would be, and that would get me to usually the frequency I was trying to get to. So that was a little tricky, I'll be honest, from an FM standpoint, but AM it's a little easier because there's not as much packed in. But again, I was using a full band recording, so that's why I think that was happening. So you're going to probably have a different experience if you have a smaller file. But I could see where this would be super beneficial for like a file where you have kind of e-skip kind of in and out a little bit. So you would actually be able to see where did the fade ups happen. Kind of like the data file analyzer or the waterfall view that you have in SDR console. Same kind of premise. You can actually visually see. I don't have to sit here and go through that frequency the entire hour of the recording. I can just go right to where the fade ups were, right? That's kind of the benefit of what you'd be doing from an FM standpoint. For AM though, we're going to go ahead and import this in. I haven't done a lot of reading yet on the settings. I'm choosing some pretty high resolution stuff here. I have a CPU that, this is a custom built PC that I did, that I kind of overdid the build on it on purpose. So it actually has handled this pretty well. So I'm doing an import here. This is like 2 hours, I think, on the morning of the 13th. Okay. This is sunrise recording. So we're going to import this in. And you'll see how it looks here. Jeff mentions he uses Waveview DX exclusively to process dual channel recordings from my RSP Duo and AFE822X dual channel SDRs, over 200 new logs since February. See, and that's a great, if you have that capability of having like a dual channel, man, this is gonna be awesome for you to review your recordings because you've got phasing built in, and you can do the phasing after the fact, right? Most phasing that you have out there, like SDR Uno or Connect with the RSP Duo, you can only do it live. You can't phase after the fact. So software phasing usually is not something that's available on recordings. Here it is, and that's pretty awesome. So we're just going to keep pulling this in. It's about 2 minutes in, so we'll let that finish up. But then we'll show you what this looks like with the interface. For our folks on the podcast, definitely recommend coming over to YouTube and looking at the live stream replay. You can see the visual along here with it. I'll try to describe everything as much as I possibly can to help you out, so that if you want to pull this up on your own computer and follow along with us, you might have something I can kind of guide you here if you're using the podcast after the fact. See, I'm trying to be considerate of both the live audience, visual folks, and the folks like me who are probably on a walk or cutting their grass and listening to the podcast and going, wait, what's this guy talking about? So how long it takes to import can vary. I think it was our friend Bjorn up in Scandinavia, that he was like 22 minutes to do some IQ recordings from Jaguar. So it can definitely vary based off of your computer speed and kind of what your computer load is at the time. Let's see. All right, we're about 4 or 5 seconds here from this import being done. All right. I'm going to maximize my view here so you guys can see. This is the view that shows, this is on the 9 kilohertz view right now. So this would be looking at this file and saying, okay, where potentially are some carriers. So I have a fade here, a fade here. These big green ones that you see here, that's where the 9 kilohertz split and the US stations kind of overlap. So that would be, those are US stations or US frequencies here in the big green lines. But you'll see here, there's a trace, there's a trace, there's a trace. So I can take a look at this. Now this one here, that's 1233. Let's see. Have a lot of what I'm seeing on mine is probably just splatter from some of my local strong stations. If I'm going to be honest, like this one here, there's a station on 690. This one here is right above WWL. So I think a lot of what I'm seeing on these is just my splatter. So I don't think those are actual carriers. When you're looking at this, you are looking at a grid. So you're looking at frequency and on the horizontal axis, you're looking at time on the vertical axis. So down here on the bottom part of the grid down here, this is lower frequencies. These are upper frequencies. Up here at the top of this grid, these are earlier times. As you go down towards the bottom, it's later times. So when I'm going through, if I'm clicking on something over here, I could just let's click on that line right here. That's at 693 kilohertz. Okay. I have a trace that goes down here. When I clicked on it, it clicks on the frequency, but I can stay on that same frequency and I can choose various points in time here. Okay. So as I go up, I'm going earlier. As I go down, I'm going later. Let's see. You can zoom in and I'm using my scroll wheel on my mouse. You can zoom in and out the view here this way. You can also zoom in and out on the frequency markers down at the bottom. You can use that to zoom in and out just on those, or you can do it on the time markers. So you stretch the time or shrink the time. Okay. And so our podcast folks, you're basically, what you would be looking at here would be either the time stretch, the available amount of time getting wider or tighter. If it's tighter, it's more kind of shrunk in, and it's not as easy to kind of pinpoint the time. If you kind of zoom out a bit, you have more room to work with. Our frequency is up here in the far right-hand corner. That's our currently tuned frequency. And as you see, I've got mine set up. Here's the medium wave station list information down here at the bottom, below our kind of our carriers, right? Below that is a station list, and I can choose, and I want to look at certain locations. Like I only want to see North America. I only want to see Africa or Europe or whatever, right? That's how you would do that. Or you can go down here to all. And every time you click on one, it's going to select it. If you want to unselect it, you just click on it again and it unselects it. If I go up here to the top and I click on analysis, I can now switch this over to my 10 kilohertz analysis if I want to. And so this is the full band on 10 kilohertz spacing. And you see there's a lot more here. The big black streaks here, the missing areas are where there's overlap between the 9 and 10 kilohertz. But there are frequencies there. There are stations there. There is, let's see, what else do I want to look at here? You have your modes over here. So you have AM, you have your synchronous AM. You have another version of synchronous AM, and I haven't played with this yet, but from what I understand, so let's say I'm on 890 and I've got a head on 891. And so I want to go to 891 and I want to use synchronous AM, but it keeps trying to sync up with 890 because that's where the strong is. This FSAM, as I understand it, allows me to choose which frequency the sync occurs on. So in that case, I could sit on 890 and then go to 891 and then say, I want you to sync to 891. And instead of it trying to pull back down to 890, it's going to stay on that 891 and sync up. So that's my understanding of what this FSAM is supposed to be. Jerry says you can change the parameters for contrast to make weak stations here more visible. And I read Rick Knuth had a big post about that in Slack today. I haven't read the full thing, but I know he was talking about that. So that is something that I do want to kind of play with a bit, is the contrast and stuff like that, and try to make these kind of more visible. Let's see. You have timing controls here. So I can go back. So if you're used to like SDR console, where you have like, you can go back 5 or up 5 or back 10, back up 10. You can do that here as well. You have presets of 30, 10, and 5 seconds. Let's see what else. There is a binaural mode. So I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to go to 1330. And I go to binaural mode, and now I have it in both my ears. Lower sideband left ear, upper sideband right. Right, and there are different versions of it, which I haven't played with yet. Different versions of binaural mode, so that's interesting. You have a volume slider here. Okay. I haven't played with the high pass. Well, I did. I'm sorry. I lie. I have played with it a little bit. Basically, it's an equalizer you can use to get rid of the rumble a little bit and kind of change your EQ. I think it's right there. 83 is where it defaults to. I haven't played with the spike filter yet, so if any of you guys that are Waveview DX folks can talk about the spike filter. I tried adjusting it, but I didn't really understand what it was doing. Let's see. Here's the phasing controls, which are not going to be in because I'm not doing a dual channel recording here. Let's see some other thing. You have a play pause button right here that I'm going to use to kind of basically act like a mute in this case. You have the ability, you can put a logbook in, so you can actually, as you hear these stations, you can come down here and log them. So like, let's say I was hearing this La Jefa Colombian station. There's a button down here that says add log for station. I could click on that and it would create a log entry for me to create a logbook within Waveview DX, so that I have a log there of all the stuff that I've heard. I haven't seen a way to import anything like an existing logbook. I was looking for that because I wanted to see if either my own personal logbook, my Excel version, or if I could download like a medium wave list, a CSV, and try to import it in that way. I haven't found a way to do that yet. So I'm not sure if that's a functionality that they offer or not. You can import, like, let's say you had more than one machine. You do have the ability to, more than one computer that you were doing this on. You do have the ability, let me go over here, import a logbook here, but it's for, like, let's say I'm on this computer and I have my Waveview DX logbook and I want to go back to the Studio B back there and put it on my Mac. I could do that. I could export this out and then import that logbook into my other one, so I have all the stuff that I've heard on that machine as well. So that one you can do. And yes, this will work on Macs, at least it says it will. I've heard some folks have some difficulty with that, but I've heard others that say maybe not as much. Here's your analysis piece where you can show color and contrast. You have a noise map, which is interesting. I haven't played with this yet, but it gives you, I'm assuming this is like a representation of the noise on the frequency. I assume. I haven't read up on that just yet. Show IQ files. So this is the list of, I guess, the IQ files we're using here, or that we're loading from. We import it in. You can do an image of your band here. The analysis of your band. Here's the carrier views. Actually, you're right. If I right click and then I say high resolution carrier view. There it is. And then I select my start time and end time that I want it to look at. My resolution, time resolution, bandwidth, and so forth. I'm just going to leave these all as I already have them here, and we're going to generate this diagram. So it's gonna basically take this one frequency that we're sitting on, and it's going to, for the entirety of the files that are there, in this case it's all 2 hours, it's going to give me a scope here of all the individual carriers. So I'm going to be able to see where all those individual carrier offsets are for the entirety of the file, or the files in this case that I uploaded, for this one frequency. So you would have to do it on each individual frequency. So this is going to look a lot like the individual carrier view that a lot of us are used to in Jaguar. Okay. So if you're used to Jaguar in that kind of carrier scope view, that's what this is pretty close to here. And you'll see here, and then I can just zoom in. Okay. That looks like about as much as I can zoom. Here's your zeros. Now, this is not well calibrated. That's the other thing, is you'll want to have it calibrated fairly accurately. I think you can do it through a GPS. There's a whole thing on the documentation about calibrating. I just haven't done it yet. But you would see, like, here is your 0 mark. And here's plus 10, minus 10, plus 20, minus 20, and so forth. So these are all individual carriers. You'll see the ones that are highlighted a bit wider. Those are stronger. And if you hover over, you'll see the actual carrier offset itself. So in this case, it's showing a carrier at 1300.0090. So that would be the carrier view. If you want to kind of get down in on the bottom level there of the carriers to kind of get those individual ones, which can be helpful. We know that can be helpful for things like, those offsets that are a little bit off to the side. It looks like it goes up to, this is nice. I can go, actually, it doesn't look like there's a limit here, does it? 580 up. 400 down. So one of the things that I have always said about Jaguar that I don't like is that seeing some of those really extreme offsets is a little difficult sometimes. Like if it's like 1300.283 or 1300.35 or something like that, or 760, they're way off the view of the zoom level of most of what you could look at on those carrier views in Jaguar. It looks like, from what I can see here, that wouldn't be the case. Again, Waveview DX folks, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like I would have the ability here to be able to go out a little bit further than I can in, say, Jaguar. So that is a nice benefit as well. I'm going to go back to my analysis here, and let's do... Go back to mine. So I click on carrier views, and then my option here is to close carrier view and go back to analysis. So there we go. Now I'm back at the big screen here, so I can go back and find another frequency to analyze and so forth. So again, I think, this is the basic stuff that I've seen so far. Again, I haven't played with it a ton to know what all the bells and whistles are and all the different areas. So is Waveview DX something you should look into? If you are an AirSpy user and you're wanting to get this view that you see here, where you can look at the whole band or the whole recorded band on these 9 and 10 kilohertz splits to see where are the signals at over the period of time of that file. Because you can't do that right now with the AirSpy, not on an individual frequency level like you can in like Jaguar with like the YAS log. You can kind of do it with the broadband file viewer, but it's not super accurate when you have just a bunch of signals on there. So this gets you more granular on each individual frequency, and as you can see, it tells me, okay, where does that signal start to fade out and so forth. And if I go switch to the 9 kilohertz, again, I can see it very, very clearly where those carriers would be. So if you're using an RSPDX or an RSP Duo or RSP 1A, 1B, something like that, an RTL SDR, if you're using any SDR that you don't have access right now to Jaguar, there's a benefit here. I do see a good benefit because you can see that whole view. You can identify very quickly, okay, do I have any possible 9 kilohertz split stuff on my file? And then even if you're doing the 10 kilohertz, you'll know where the signals were on that file. And then you can pick a frequency, zoom in on that carrier view, and get those individual little offsets. So from there, I say absolutely, if you're using one of those single channel recordings on any of those SDRs and you're not using Jaguar, yeah, I think you've got a good benefit here. If you're a Perseus user who is using Jaguar, I don't see as much of a benefit. You actually lose some functionality if you're doing just a single channel Perseus recording. You actually lose some functionality, I feel like, moving from Jaguar to Waveview DX. Potentially. And now, I haven't dove into this all the way, so I may be missing something that I don't know about. But from what I've seen so far, everything that I see that's available to me, I can get in Jaguar, and I get more in Jaguar. And so I don't, if you're already using Jaguar, I don't see where the benefit is of using a Waveview DX program just for those. And plus with Jaguar, you can live DX, which you cannot do here, right? So there's that. But if you are using a non-Perseus, non-Jaguar, if you're a non-Jaguar user and you're using either a Perseus or some other SDR currently, and you want to have this ability to kind of go through your recordings, I think there's some really strong benefit here. To be able to see those visuals, to be able to see those zoomed in individual carrier offsets, I think that would be quite nice. Obviously, the folks who are going to get the biggest benefit here are the folks who have dual channel recording capabilities with something like an RSP Duo or some of those that Jeff mentioned earlier. If you have an SDR unit that is capable, that has individual, unique, independent, separate channels like that, like antenna 1, antenna 2, and then you have the ability to use something like Linrad or one of those to record those individual recordings on each of those separately, right? Then being able to import those into Waveview DX and do the phasing after the fact, that's a huge benefit. That's huge. And for that reason, I want to take a longer look at that process and what that would look like for me as far as using my RSP Duo to record in Linrad get those individual recordings, and then pull that over here into Waveview DX and do the phasing and everything else that I need to do to be able to sort through. That would be a huge benefit. So that is a use case that I'm very, very interested in. And so for the rest of everyone else who's not in that situation where you're doing just single channel recordings, there is still a benefit here, especially if you're looking for transoceanic stuff. Jaguar users probably a little bit less than. So there you go. That's my views on Waveview DX. I think it's a very nice program. I think it's a very, very nice program for for recording review. And I see a lot of potential here. And I'm looking forward to seeing what more features come along over time. And I'm really looking forward to diving into the idea of using phasing on a recorded file. I think that's going to be really nice, because that's something that we haven't really had unless you were a Linrad user, right? If you were using Linrad specifically for file review, I think you guys have that. And it's pretty killer, but it's super complicated. This would simplify that part. If you can figure out how to get the recording done, the Waveview DX could simplify the review process, make it a little easier to do the phasing after the fact on those recorded files. So that's my thoughts so far. That may change over time as I use the program more. I will continue to get in there and dive into it, but that's what I see so far from it. So, and it does do AM and FM, right? So if you are an FMDXer and you have let's say a sporadic e-recording from the summer, and especially if it's one of those where it was kind of in and out and you want to see, it got at the top band that kind of fell back down a little bit, that will show you very clearly where the signals are. So you can very clearly identify, without having to go listen through the entire file and every single frequency, where are the signals at. Now, if you have one where it's just constant, it's not as helpful. But if you have those where it was kind of fading in and out, you're getting some porpoising and like it was really strong earlier and then it kind of faded and came back or whatever. Having that visual will be nice. Just keep in mind the tuning can be a little wonky. And I know there's a manual tune option in there. I haven't played with it yet, but the clicking on the chart, the carrier view chart that we saw, clicking on that and tuning on FM, it can be a little wonky. You just have to kind of get used to it. You'll see what I mean when you get in there. All right, let's take a quick look at Tropo before we get to our next DX session. And we're gonna we need to do some shout outs first, don't we? Yeah, let's take ourselves up to DX time with some more shout outs.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM, from C to C. We celebrate the ones who snag the IP. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
Take care, Stephanie. Glad to have you back again, my friend. Jacob, to answer your question, I haven't tried that at all. That's actually a really good idea. I don't know if it would work, but the question was taking a Kiwi SDR IQ recording and feeding it into WaveView. I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to see if I can figure that out. All right, let's take a look here at our shout-outs. Where'd my sheet go? Let's go to our friend Stuart, W8SRC in Michigan. And Stuart's caught the DX bug in that way where he's like DXing all of it now. Like AM, FM, weather DX, ham radio, all of it. So he's got the full DX bug. He's fully in. So he's got some good stuff here. What an amazing wrap to the FM Tropo season. New FM stations this week: Florida Man Radio, 104.9 WYGC in High Springs, Florida. 862-mile meteor scatter hit on my autologger. 93.7 The Light, WFCJ in Miamisburg, Ohio. 183 miles with weak RDS. Rarely Heard FM Relogs, WVXG. I'll get that in a second. WVXG in Ohio, 127 miles and 95.1. 99.7 The Blitz in Columbus, Ohio. 164 miles, Star 104 in Erie, Pennsylvania. Common E-skip one here. 195 miles, 90.1 WMBI in Chicago, 213 miles. NOAA weather radio stations this week. WNG 735 on the .425 in New Philadelphia, Ohio, 172 miles. 180 miles for WWG 56 on the .5, Youngstown, Ohio. WWG 35.525 in Bridgeport, Ohio, 218 miles. 301 miles to Bloomington, Illinois for the KZZ 65 on the .525, and on the .5 XLT 938 in Goderich, Ontario, 148 miles. International. Nice. A couple of relogs here as well for some NOAA weather radio. Let's see. I'm normally not one to add up my total logs. I have way too many FM and ham radio repeater catches to count, but this past Tuesday's Tropo opening has brought me up to 41 NOAA weather radio stations heard from Ann Arbor. Nothing new of significance on the AM side this week, which I think will remain a casual pursuit for me, as I'm not quite sustaining as much interest on that band. It can be tough. Perhaps if there was a huge opening this winter or during more beginner-friendly medium wave frequency challenges, I'll see what I can get on my CC Radio 2E. We might have something coming up here for you that might help with that. I've also been catching up on past episodes of the VHF DX podcast with Nick and Bryce. I didn't realize how valuable short skip can be during e-skip openings. Yes, sir. I thought I might mention here that the very first e-skip station heard from inside my RF hungry apartment also happens to be my shortest skip so far, 89.3 WALN in Carrollton, Alabama, 669 miles during the same May 24th open that it brought me my longest skip so far to Reynosa, Mexico. Awesome, my friends. We got you all kinds of new logs in here, man. Hey, there's Carl. All right, man. We were just wondering where you have been hiding, my friend. Welcome. Well done, Stuart. Well done. David up in Maine, another great week here on the challenge frequencies. My local on 1230 is gone, and I was able to add 6 more new logs there. I was also able to check Two new countries off the list that I've been chasing for a while. The first is 910 La FAMA, or maybe still RCN, in San Andres y Providencia. All right. Yeah. That's a new country, my friend. Going through several top of the hour recordings until I finally heard the RCN sounder on the 12th at 0200 on my Southwest Bog with a local. We're going to do an extra little. With a local canceled. The second one has been my top target for a while. On the 14th, around 0237, 940 kilohertz, I canceled the Montreal station and instantly heard the deep voice preacher with the background singing. I checked the station stream and a local Kiwi, and at one point I had the Kiwi echo that Lloyd's talked about before. You're making me happy here, man. It was 940 Super Radio Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil on the South Bog. That's country number 30 for our friend David Pete up in Maine. And man, let me tell you, this is going to be something that gets a little bit more than just the passport stamp, because you're one of the first folks I've seen log Brazil in quite some time. There was a station that we used to get, I think it was on 1290, down in Brazil that was kind of offset a bit. You could get them kind of easy, but my dude, you just climbed the mountain. You got the one that all of us in the Slack channel are chasing right now. You got Brazil, and man, and you got San Andres y Providencia. Oh man, that is awesome stuff right there, man. So congratulations. Super happy for you. He's got a couple clips here. If we have some time here after the top of the hour, we'll come back and we'll play those for you. If not, we'll try to get them the next week, because that is just super, super cool. Charles Williams on 693 from California here. Faint audio on 693 sounded like an English lesson, probably Japan, but a different frequency than I had before. Posted the video on Slack a few days ago, also on X, so possibly a new Japanese log. Nice, man. And our last shout out here for this hour, Mexico Mike J, I should say. 6 new loggings for the Graveyard Challenge: 1400 KTUC, 1450 KTZR, and 1490 KFFN, all from Tucson, Arizona, all heard at the sunrise moment in the recording. And he mentioned in the Slack earlier this week that he's had some local stations go off the air on the Graveyard down there in Mexico, so it's opened up the band a bit, which it's working. 1240 KXYL in Brownwood, Texas, 1490 KEUN in Eunice, Louisiana. Shout out to my old friend from Eunice. In Eunice, they talk like this. In Villa Plata, they talk like that. And 1450 WSDV Sarasota. Heard them this week. My second furthest graveyard logging at 1,218 miles. Awesome, man. Well, we got to get you a plate, or rather a bowl, I should say, a bowl of that gumbo. Yes, sir. A bowl of that gumbo. That Eunice. They talk like this. In Vlad, they talk like that. And some log saws for your new logs as well, my friend. All right, let's get ready here. We're going to do another live DX session, and then we're going to, after the top of the hour, we'll do our look at the FM Tropo forecast, because it looks like some of us may be getting some Tropo here this weekend into the week, early part of the week. So we'll take a look at that. We have our logs from the week. It's a very short list, I'll tell you that. Very, very, very short list. And we'll be on our way. So yeah, let's go ahead and do another live DX session. Ignore the FM. This is an AM DX session, but it's brought to you by the Spectrum Monitor. The SpectrumMonitor.com is the website for information about getting yourself subscribed to the best dang radio magazine the money can get you. The SpectrumMonitor.com. And I may be biased, but are there really that many more out there? Right? I think what we do in the Spectrum Monitor is pretty awesome. All right, so we're going to do, getting close to the top of the hour here. Let's do a look down southeast-ish, southeast, on the graveyard frequencies here. I'm going to go down to 1400 and see what we might have there. Actually, no, let's go to 1240 and start down there and see what we have. And remember, once we go to the top of the hour, I'll be muting the mic, and any new stations that we note in there, we'll hit with that sounder, and then we'll come back and circle back around and tell you what we heard. Too late to submit a shout out? No, sir. dxchallenges.com/shoutout. Go ahead and get it in. We'll read yours after the top of the hour when we do mine.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert.
All right, here we go. Top of the hour time frame. Mike is muted. Let's listen for some IDs. right, so I didn't hear any idea. I heard a couple of things in there, nothing definitive. So we'll have to spend some more time on. I'm trying to do the big Kiwi, because I hadn't really done that before on the graveyards. So I want to spend some time on the big Kiwi, looking on the graveyards, see if I hear anything down in Latin America. I have heard Radio Maya Bacay in Cuba on 1450 here once, and there was I think it was that one on this frequency in Mexico. But that's, I want to get more. I want to try to really push it to get down there a bit. All right, let's go ahead. We got another shout out we got to get in here for you guys, for our friend Nathan in the chat. Faraday. First submission here. Every No Other Radio. Let me scroll over just a bit, get this in frame so I can see it. Every No Other Radio station I logged on the way to New York. Stations heard in Whiteville, NC to Winchester, VA. KHB 31 in that's local for him in Whiteville. That's by Wilmington, right? I think so. KX 195 Warsaw, NC. WNG 706 Garner, NC. WXL 58 Raleigh, NC. WWH 36 Mimi, NC. WNG 531 Windsor, NC. WXK 65 Richmond, Virginia. WNG 736, that's DC, LWX Baltimore. WZ 2527 Fredericksburg, Virginia. WXM 42 Hagerstown, Maryland, and Winchester, Virginia. WWG 52 in Huntington, Pennsylvania. WXL 40 Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. WXL 43 Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. WXL 55 Williamsport, Pennsylvania. WXL 38 Binghamton, New York. Norwich, New York. KHXC 49 and WWH 35 in Cooperstown. So quite a few new logs for our friend Nathan on the. Oops, I need to switch my input, don't I? Go over here and do this, and then I can do that. There you go. So well done, Nathan. Some new weather radio logs on your recent trip, man. That's awesome to see. So I'm actually planning for our folks who are either into or maybe wanting to get into weather radio. I'm planning something special for y'all sometime soon. So stay tuned for that. Really here for us this week, only one new station. Now I'm still going through my recording review from the 13th of August on the FM from the sporadic E opening that we had here. And that will yield some new stuff, but I'm going to lump all that all together at once. But on the AM side, just one new log. And it was actually our first log of the season. And it was from the recording on the October 13th recording I pulled up in Waveview DX. Out of nowhere on 1240 KRVC in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, just popped up with their Easy Rock. And I mean, when I say popped up, let me just play it for you here, because it was very much. Did you hear that? We'll play it again here. Ready? Just Easy Rock. And then it was gone. And I never heard anything else. But that was Arkadelphia, Arkansas, for a brand new one at 311 miles. That puts us now at, I want to say it was 1085. Yeah, 1,085 stations from Mandeville. And I think it was number 40 from Arkansas. 10 of those are on the graveyard, if I remember right. And that was our 105th graveyard station from here in Mandeville. And yeah, I think 20 something on 1240, 24 maybe on 1240. So that's our one of our most prolific frequencies is 1240 here in Mandeville. Let's take a quick look at the Tropo forecast, because this is looking interesting. So we're going to do the east half of the U.S. here. And so this, let me just refresh it here. This is courtesy of Bill Hepburn's Tropo forecast. And we're going to go ahead and give him a link here and credit. So that you guys can, if you're not already using Bill's site, you need to be doing that, because this thing is amazing. And you're going to learn a lot about how tropo and weather go together. And you're about to see that here in a second. So this is valid as of, let's see, that is 12 o'clock, right? Yeah, 12 o'clock Central Time today. I want to say it's 12 o'clock. Am I messing that up? Yeah, it's 12, 6 hours. We're 6 hours right now. No, 5. Damn. This is a 1 o'clock. I'll get it out in a second. I forgot what time of the day, the year it was. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. So this was earlier today, what the conditions would have looked like. And now we get to 0300 UTC, which is coming up here at 10 o'clock in an hour. A little bit kind of pushing up here in the Gulf Coast, maybe some stuff here off the East Coast, a little bit of marginal stuff up here in the Great Lakes. We see now we get into Saturday. This is 4 a.m. in the morning, Saturday morning. Again, some sporadic little blobs of tropo in here. But you see what's kind of forming right back here. You have a front forming, and this front's going to come through. And watch what happens when it does. So it's going to push through. And normally when a cold front or whatever comes in, it kind of stabilizes the atmosphere. We get rid of the temperature inversions, and it's the stuff out ahead of the front that gets us the good stuff. And post-frontal, it's kind of right? Well, this one's going to do just the opposite. Watch this. So this is Sunday morning. This is around 10 o'clock Saturday night, actually, Central Time. Here's your front. Starting to see some of this kind of prefrontal stuff here in Arkansas, Texas. And now it's going to push through. And now we have gotten to 7 a.m. Sunday morning. Your front has pushed through. It's like right about in here, I think, somewhere. It's pushed through. Now look what starts to happen. Now we're seeing coast of Carolina. You guys have some stuff here down in the South Carolina, probably your usual look. But you might have some stuff even to the center part of the state of South Carolina. Some stuff here off of the coast of Cape Cod and of that area. That might give you a duck tier down the coastline. Florida, west coast of Florida, you're looking good. And then we're starting to get going here in Texas and Louisiana. And then front comes through. And now you got this prefrontal stuff, this front line stuff right here down in the Gulf. So down from Mexico, down to Florida, up along the East Coast and everything, right? But watch what happens when we get here into Monday. This is 1 a.m. Monday morning. This is post-frontal. Now we're starting to see some stuff now up into Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee, a little bit of Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, starting to see some more tropo in this region. Up here off the coast of Maine, maybe a little bit, gets you down into a little bit to your south a bit. Looky, looky, looky. Now we're really starting to get the tropo engine cooking. I'm talking from North Carolina down South Carolina, down Georgia, down all the way along the Gulf Coast. All along in here, you could see some tropo anywhere along this line. On the backside of this front. You've got Missouri, you've got Illinois, peeking into parts of Iowa. A little bit of marginal tropo up in here. And when we say this little blue stuff right here, that's fair. That's a decent amount of tropo. That's a decently strong tropo. And now it starts to clear out a little bit as we get into the day. This is around 1 o'clock. It starts to burn off a little bit. But have no fear, because as we get into the evening, overnight hours on Monday night into Tuesday, we start back up again. Now look at Alabama. Our friend Les Rayburn in Alabama, you get tropo. Mississippi, you get tropo. We're doing the Oprah routine here. Middle part of South Carolina into North Carolina and Virginia into the Mid-Atlantic. You get tropo. Probably not super strong, but you get some tropo. And considering how little tropo we've had this fall season, I'll take it. We're getting some nice stuff over here into Texas now from Louisiana, a little bit more up in here in Arkansas. And then now look at this nice little band that's going in, stretching out into Georgia, up into the upstate of South Carolina, North Carolina. This would be a nice one to hook into. So, Alabama, Georgia folks, you have a shot at some stuff up to your north. Not a tropo path you see often. Now this starts to clear out again. We have a secondary little bitty nudge right here. We get to Wednesday. You were looking around Tuesday night. You got some stuff here right along the coastline. A little bit more kind of baking in behind here. And then it starts to push out. I think that might be a secondary front that comes in. and does that stabilization routine. But it does kind of come back around again as we get into the later part of the week. Now, the later part of the week stuff, like when we look at this, like Thursday here, that's far, far out. So I would not be really considering that to be truthful or reliable just yet. I'm talking Monday, Tuesday, really. Sunday night into Tuesday morning. That's our sweet spot. So what does that mean, DXers? If you're in any of those states that I talked about, set up some overnight recordings and some sunrise recordings, because that's when Tropo is going to be the heaviest, is around like 7 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. local, 8 a.m., somewhere in there. Set yourself up to run like 4 or 5 o'clock till about 9 o'clock. Get some recordings in there. If you can't do the whole band, splice it up and do a little bit of the upper part of the band, a little bit of the middle part of the band, a little bit of the lower part of the band. If you have to choose one or the other, I would choose upper part of the band to the middle. That's your best bet for getting some Tropo, because Tropo starts high and it works its way down. The opposite of E-skip, which starts low and works its way up. So if you're in any of those areas I mentioned, coastal North Carolina, up into New England, anywhere in that center part from Illinois-ish down through Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, down here into Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, back up into the East Coast. All of us in this area need to be putting some recordings up Monday night or Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Monday morning, Tuesday morning. Those are the time frames you're going to want to be looking to see if any Tropo comes in your way. That includes if you're a NOAA Weather Radio nerd. Okay, if you like to do the NOAA Weather Radio stuff, you especially have a better shot at this than even the FM folks. Sometimes it doesn't get down to FM, but NOAA Weather Radio, you've got a really good shot. So if you're in any of those areas I mentioned, you may want to set up a recording for your NOAA Weather Radio frequencies and see if you catch anything from Tropo that way. Trust me, I will be. I'm going to have Monday morning, Tuesday morning, NOAA Weather Radio recordings running my AirSpy R2 with the J-pole out in the backyard. So you're going to definitely want to take a look at those time frames for some Tropo, any of those places I mentioned before. One last look around here. Matthew says anything around the North Dakota, Montana area. Nothing that I'm seeing. Let me put it. It's pretty uncommon. That doesn't mean it can't happen. Let me go back up here and just look at Western North America. I want to be thorough. I'm not seeing anything up your way. I'm looking also for Stephanie's benefit here in California. The usual California immediately along the coastline stuff, but I'm not seeing anything really popping up there. So most of this looks like it's going to be Texas. Oh, I saw a little bit. Is that Tuesday morning? We could have some stuff inland into Texas around Austin, close to San Antonio, pushing in that way, that far inland into Texas on Tuesday morning. Nice. Yeah, West Coast stuff. It's the usual right there along the coastline that we would expect to see. But nothing really pushing inland. Definitely not anything as far inland as Montana, the Dakotas, things like that. You guys don't really see much. Take some pretty special conditions to get out that way. So nothing on the deck for right now, but I will continue to keep an eye out for you guys as we go along in the season. All right. I'm just looking at this Gulf Caribbean look. Oh, look at this, guys. Look at this Gulf Caribbean look for Tuesday. This is 1 o'clock Tuesday morning. We have some orange down here. Now we're talking about intense. We're talking about some very intense, extreme over here in West Louisiana down into Texas, close to the Mexican border. Oh, so yeah, some stuff on the intense to extreme into the range here early in the week. We're looking at Monday into Tuesday. So should be some interesting stuff. So definitely get your recordings going for FM, for NOAA Weather Radio, if that's something that you're interested in. I highly recommend trying it out. It's actually kind of fun. And see what you get. That's going to do it for us for this edition of DX Central Live. Whether you joined us live or if you listen on the podcast, we appreciate you being here with us. Every Friday night, we go live, 2345 UTC, 1845 Central Time, right here on our YouTube channel. A couple days later, once it's available for me to download and do what I need to do and put it up on the podcast, you'll find it on our podcast from thestatic.net or anywhere you get podcasts. Go check out, just dropped a brand new episode of the podcast earlier this afternoon. It's our interview with Nick Langan and Bryce Foster from our season finale of last year. We're just diving into FM, and it's not just about the sporadic E-season that was to come. It's about all things FM, so you'll definitely want to check that out if you have not yet done so already. Again, that's fromthestatic.net or anywhere you get podcasts. It's episode 3. We'll have this episode uploaded sometime later this weekend, and then we got some more stuff heading your way. And I will be spending this weekend a couple things I want to do. I want to get my northeast southwest CAS back up and running, which means I got to wind a transformer. I want to get my mini whip back up and running, which is just a lightning arrestor switch. And I'm going to be potentially doing some shooting of videos this weekend. I have an idea of some stuff I want to shoot, so maybe you might see some new videos here on the channel here pretty soon. From all of us here at DX Central, on behalf of our sponsors, National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org, International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org, and the Spectrum Monitor, thespectrummonitor.com. My friends, thank you so much for being with us again for another edition of DX Central Live. We'll see you next week right here on YouTube and on our From the Static podcast. Take care, my friends. Best of DX.
This has been the DX Central from the Static Podcast. If you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, let us know by emailing sponsors@fromthestatic.net. If you have a story to share for our Stories from the Static series, send those to our email address, stories@fromthestatic.net. Be sure to join us for our live DX live stream every Friday night at 2345 UTC, 1845 Central Time, on our YouTube channel or at dxcentrallive.com.
The DX Central From the Static podcast is copyright 2025, Lloyd Van Horn, DX Central. All rights reserved. No portion of this podcast may be rebroadcast or reused without the express written authorization of Lloyd Van Horn and DX Central. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, as new episodes will be posted regularly. Join us next time for the DX Central From the Static podcast.